Right. Good morning, everybody, and welcome from sunny Malmö, and welcome to our Wednesday webinar. Today, the topic is about a solution that significantly can improve team collaboration and knowledge exchange with the connected worker, improving plant productivity and driving operational excellence. Our speakers today are Bengt Grönlund, Business Development at Wonderware Scandinavia, and Johan Lantz, Global World-Class Manufacturing Integration Manager at Tetra Pak. And I am Helen Windros, and I am responsible for marketing and communication at Wonderware Scandinavia. So a few words before we start. Change slide. All microphones will be muted during the presentation, and at the end of the session, we will open up for a Q&A. And you can post your questions in the chat window that you have on your webinar panel. If you want to ask questions during the webinar, you can also unmute yourself by clicking on the red and green microphone button that you also have on your webinar panel. And this webinar will be recorded, and you will receive a link to the recorded webinar within 48 hours after the webinar is ended. And if there is any problems during the presentation, you can, of course, try the chat, and you can also send emails to hlindros@wonderwarescandinavia.com. And with that, I would like to hand over to Bengt.
Yeah, thank you very much, Helen. Today we're gonna have a small presentation about the solution that we offer in our broad portfolio. And I still want to show you the agenda. This webinar is a part of a campaign that's ongoing right now, where we're talking about the connected worker and how we can manage that with the software of Aviva Teamwork. Aviva Teamwork is based on a software from a company called Polka, based in Canada, and it's a part of the Aviva solution overall as a global solution. I'm not going to stay with that. I'm going to have an introduction of 15 minutes. Then we can have a look at the Tetra Pak solution with the Polka software, and also a Q&A at the end, like Helen said before. So, a little short about Wonderware Scandinavia. We've been on the market since 20 years, something now. We're about 30 people around Scandinavia working on the different softwares from Aviva. We work from edge to enterprise, which means that we are out edge computing. We are also in to a lot of softwares in the enterprise area as well. So we work through all our system integrators in Scandinavia. It's about 120 of them, and they're really skilled. So that's where the deep knowledge and vertical domain experience is to be found. To begin with Aviva. Aviva is a leader in industrial transformation in industrial softwares. And the good thing about Aviva is that Aviva is just working with software, no hardware, no other things, just software. And that's also a part of the success. We connect to everything, and we connect to nearly any software from different companies as well. So it's also one of the largest software companies in the industrial world. Spread out throughout the world, a lot of employees, a lot of investments in R&D all the way, and there's a lot of system integrated partners as well, spread out through the world, and that's how we can manage to work with global solutions as well as local solutions. So, and the latest news from Aviva is that they have acquired OCSoft, which is a another great industrial software company, and they will also be a part of Aviva. So that's a new member in this team as well. More news about that later on. And this is the areas of value that we address: improve operational performance, also safety, quality, and compliance. We also have a large bulk of interest in to improve the asset utilization and reliability. And that's what we're going to talk about a little bit today. Aviva has three different stages, three different parts of the software where they address the engineering, operations, and performance. And what we're going to talk about today is one piece of the pie that's called the connected worker. Connected worker is the people that work in the production or in operations or in maintenance or anywhere in factory or facilities management. And it all starts with the industrial IoT or the edge computing, where we find all the data in all the sensors out there, or as we collect them from our manual roundings or something else. And that makes us get to the connected worker in the end. And as you know, the digitalization the last year has increased a lot. And in this McKinsey CEO survey, we can point out that there's a big increase in remote working and or digital collaboration. And that's what we're going to talk a little bit more about today. And also the other part, which is the knowledge and skill. There's a very, very, very fast and rapidly changing environment that we live in today. And as you know, all of the information that is needed are stored away somewhere, and it's very, very difficult to reach the information when it's needed. And when you find it, it's incomplete and maybe out of date as well. So it's very difficult to understand what they are going to do and how we can handle our situations in the production area when something happens. And also we have the challenge with the skills gap. We have the retiring workforce. We have new hires that we want to have up and running as fast as possible. There's also a demand for information regarding the complex equipment that we are installing in our factories right now. There's a lot of information that need to be transferred to the connected worker in a very, very short time to get the workforce up and running. And also, as we were into the retiring workforce, which is a big problem right now, because a lot of people in the production area and in industrial world is about to get retired in maybe 5 or 10 years time, and how do we transfer all the knowledge that they have achieved over the working days. So that's what we're going to address. And the solution for that is Aviva Teamwork, which is based on the POCA system from the company called POCA. And this is very interesting, the cloud-based performance support application that speeds up the communication internally, the support the workforce, and also it allows you to capture and share knowledge around the company. And it's all about the experienced worker. How do he transfer or she to the new people that's coming aboard, the new generation, which is born with a laptop in our hand or an iPhone or other handheld device. So this is basically the overview, what this is all about. It's connecting your entire workforce. You have the workers who get instant access to instructions at workstations or on the fly. And they can solve problems and capture best practices in the flow of daily work using the factory feed in this mobile app or web if you want to. Also, the management gets real-time visibility into the plant floor and the daily operations. And also you can address corporate in this case as well. We're going to very fast look at the areas of focus of this Aviva teamwork. It's communication to connect the workers across shifts and facilities to solve problems, share insights into logbooks. Also the digital knowledge, where you can scan a QR code in the factory and immediately get quick access to a standardized library or instructions and even videos how to do things with special equipment. Skills management, which is the user and skills knowledge base, where the team leaders can see where to find the users and the skills they have. Also, we have finally the issues management, where we can capture, track and resolve problem through call for help escalation, and also find subject matter experts in a matter of seconds. So a little bit about the communication. This is the factory feed, where you can find everything that's happening in the factory. You can also put in comments, you can reply, you can add multimedia files and everything that you need to share your experience on that day, or share your experience across shifts, departments, and even plants. And here's part of the digital knowledge chapter. In this example, you went to Chicago. You're in line 1 at workstation 1. You approach the equipment, you scan the QR code, and immediately you get all the information about that equipment. You get all the forms, work instruction, all the troubleshoots that have been done, the news posts, the product settings, and documentation regarding the equipment. And this is very, very good to have. And it's also, if you have wrapper A, the machine in one part of the country, and also another wrapper A in another part of the country, another factory, you can always have the information. It's kind of a matrix situation. It's very, very good. And here are the skills management part. It's very useful to see where you can find the people who knows things and who needs training for things. And you get a really good overview over your team, what they have to do and what they can do, and where they need to get more education, more training. The issues management is a great part as well. It's kind of call for help, and you can follow up on your cases. When you have an issue, in this case, you have an open issue for the quality. That's Benjamin Jones asked for line 1 has a red light, it won't go away. And anybody who's, as you can see, he has tagged the wrapper B and the case packer. So everybody that's in that group will see his question and is about to answer that as well. And it's also an overview over the lines, and you can see it's line 1, there's four issues ongoing, 4 call of help. So that's very good as well. And this is the way of thinking and working when you have this system in place. You identify issues, solve your problems, You can capture and share, you can take pictures, you can take a video of something and post it in this system so everybody can see it. And also, there's a lot of extensions and integrations in this, of course, with all the Aviva stuff that we have. So you can trigger posts from, for example, the MES system from Aviva or from some other vendor. And you can also do a lot of things with the integration of the different systems. So also, this is a software as a service. It's a very quick adaptation to get things going in this. So the normal way to do it is to start with in phase 1, as we see here, communication and daily collaboration, and also the issue management system. And then you can build on with the other parts as well. But the nice thing is that it's a very, very fast user adoption. Anyone who has used social media or has recorded a video should be familiar with using these concepts. And also, no installation is required, so it's very, very fast. The only thing you do is you download your app, and you put the system in place, and then you're ready to go. And there's a lot of savings, a lot of value in this. We can see from Aviva's horizon, their users and POCA users are also seeing a real high decrease in accidents. So if you're working with safety, it's very, very good. Also reduction in waste, reduction in training time, and a rise in production. And also, when we're talking about lean production, this is a very, very good to digitalize the lean format. So that's also a very big advantage of this system. So as you remember, the challenges and trends that we have today, the ineffective and rapidly changing information, that we can't find it stored somewhere. It's in a different area that when we need it, so we have to run through the factory to get it. And also the skills gap that we see in front of us, the retiring workforce, employee turnover as well, get the new hires on the way, fast and convenient. That's all what I had to say. And now I will hand over to Johan from Tetra Pak, who is using the system, and will take you through the real life situation that Tetra Pak is having. So we'll see if we can make Johan.
Yeah, let's see if you can give me the permission here.
Yeah, try to do that. There you go.
Let's see. Do you see my screen in full screen mode?
Yeah.
Perfect, thank you. Yeah, so what I will present here is how we work with the connected workforce in Tetra Pak using the POCA solution, and some other solutions connected to that as well, of course, because to be connected, you need more than just one tool, and that's something that I will talk about. But first of all, I mean, what is Tetra Pak, and where are we located and so on? If you have a look here, we have roughly 89 sales offices globally, 39 market companies, 5 R&D centers, 6 customer innovation centers, 10 product development centers, 55 production plants, 11 technical training centers, and 12 processing and production sites. So we are, globally available, I would say almost everywhere. Yeah. This is how we are structured. We are structured by a cluster organization. So we have these 4 clusters. And if I would talk about the supply chain factories, To just give some examples from Scandinavia, we have, of course, factories in Sunne in Sweden. We have in Lund, of course, we have some factory there. We have in Denmark, Göring, for example, or Aarhus. Imatra, Finland, also, is some example that we have. So we are quite present in Scandinavia. And of course, we have our main office in Lund as well, with thousands of people working. What I will cover a little bit in this session now is how to connecting the machines and people to enable a smart supply chain. So the importance of going from smart machines and disconnected people to smart interaction between machines and people. I think most of you know that, to get data from machines we have got for many years. And I would say, especially in Tetra Pak, we have been very good on connecting the machines for probably more than 10 years ago. We started to get all the sensor data, all the stops on the machines and so on. So we have a lot of data since many years there. The difficult part has been then to connect the people. So I will talk a little bit about how we have done that or are doing it still. And also the importance of enabling a quick and easy access to the best known knowledge in a modern and intuitive applications. We'll also talk about the systematic application of lean and total productive maintenance methodologies in a digital environment. So how can we leverage the digital tools to accelerate that journey? So if you go to the 2000s, so like I said, 10 to or more than 10 years ago, we had a lot of data and more condition-based maintenance approach where it was based on equipment, sensors, and process. So based on the conditions, that we have had for a long time. We know the vibration, we know the heat, we know the temperature. We know all of those type of things on the machine. But as you can see with the operator here on the left side, he still needs to go to a screen, right? So this is how it has been, and usually is still today, that if you want to know how the machine is feeling, you need to go to the machine to check, right? And so, but the conditions and data is continuously logged and visualized in real time. Yeah, that we can do, no issue. But again, you need to go to probably the computer, maybe a stationary computer, or again, a panel by the machine. And they are in a way semi-connected because, of course, I can go there and I can get the information, but I don't have it in my pocket. So that is, of course, an issue that we have. But then if you look about what we're doing, so this is how we have been doing it for the last, I would say 10 to 20 years, right? And continuously improving that. What we're doing now is actually connecting the worker to the machines as well. So getting the data to different applications that we have. And for example, in this occasion, when we talk about the connected workforce, the core of that for us is the Pocket solution and then using Power BI to visualize the data. And then, of course, we have all of that data in Azure Cloud from Microsoft. And what you can see here is that, just as a reference, is that it's still based on the equipment, right? But it's also becoming more intelligent. So you can also, have things like AI, you consider the process, the environment even, and pushing information to the operator or the maintenance or the quality or whoever is doing the job on the machine. So this is something that we have been doing for, I would say, the last 2 to 3 years. We started to push out these type of tools to the operators and maintenance and quality in the factories. But it's really, I would say, the last year where we really can see the difference, where something's really starting to happen, where the operators are taking more control and so on. So like I said, it's pushed in real time. And they are starting to become connected now. So you can say that, we are going from this, like I said before, the semi-connected environment where now they are becoming more and more connected. So not only with the machines, you will see that later as well, but also between each other. And of course, that when we do this, we base it on our world-class manufacturing methods. So this is a way of working in Tetra Pak for the last 20 plus years of a structured approach for continuous improvement. So it's based both on lean, total productive maintenance, Six Sigma, and other continuous improvement methods and tools that we use. But we're doing, even our digitalization, we are doing in that approach. So we are looking, of course, on what is the biggest loss? Where do we need to attack? And in the beginning of our journey, when we were connecting the machines and so on, of course, we could get quite big gains in the beginning of knowing when the machine is not feeling well. So when we have breakdowns, when we have stops, when we have waste from the machine, all of that information we have had for many years, which also means that we have been able to attack it, or as we say, eradicate it, right? But now we can see that actually right now in our situation, and of course this is just a number to get a little bit feeling of it, but roughly 50% of the losses that we have today are related to what we say man and method. So it means that someone were not properly trained, or maybe there was a procedure that was not followed, or maybe the procedure is followed, but it's not easy to follow, let's say, in that sense. It's maybe like it was mentioned before as well, that maybe it's written in text, so not so easy to absorb. And also we are working according to the principle that the technology should support people, not replace. And this is very important. It's the same thing when we do our implementation of our world-class manufacturing. You know, the business case for that is not to reduce the headcount. The business case is that we free up people from doing, let's say, the non-value adding activities, so they can make the machines even better and make the process even better and train themselves to become even better and doing all of that work instead, right? So that is the principle, that we don't improve to reduce headcount. We improve so we have more time to make even more improvements, right? Same thing with the digitalization here, why we are still continuing on this journey. Then, of course, if you look here, let's just take up all three of them, is that the collaboration is also important, that both the machines, so we can compare data between factories, of course, connecting that through the Azure cloud, but also connecting the people between factories. So for example, if I'm an operator in one of our factories in Brazil, and I have an issue on, let's say, one of our laminators, why can't I collaborate with someone on a laminator, maybe in one of our factories in France or China, right? Before that has been, someone will probably say that it is possible because you can send a mail and you can call someone, but I mean, if I'm an operator on the machine, how do I know who to call? How do I know who to write the mail to? That's not so easy. But through the tools we are providing here, we are giving them the possibility to actually, let's say, tag the machine, for example. And then, of course, people being experts on that type of machine, then they get a notification saying that, well, there is someone here that have an issue. Could you maybe help them? Makes it a lot easier. You don't have to remember who is the expert and so on. And then, of course, it's a complex landscape because I said before, Pokia is one tool, Power BI is something else that we have to visualize data, but there's always, more things that you could integrate and of course, make the experience also easier, because that's something that I mentioned before, that you want to have an application and a situation for the operator and the other ones working in the factory where they have an easy way of working. So what we normally say, quick and easy access. Of course, there is not one tool that can do everything, so we need to integrate. And of course, we are, in Tetra Pak, we're doing this gradually. We started, for example, with integrating the something called Active Directory, and for those of you who don't know what that is, it's just getting the user data. Of course, if you want access to the system, where you need all the user information, okay, who they are, username, passwords, and so on. So that was one of the first things that we did, just to integrate that. Then, of course, we are looking into more things, right? We are looking in now to Power BI to start visualizing the data from the system, and also looking into other systems, what could potentially be added as an integrator, right? So we have, you could have the MES, maybe something from the ERP, CMMS, QMS, or LMS. So the learning management system, the quality management system, the maintenance system, so CMMS, and let's say the more business system, SAP, ERP, and then the MES that we have developed ourselves, let's say in Tetra Pak, called P2. Because if I look here, so just to get my laser pointer, what you can see, of course, that we have, the structure of the factory, for example. So we have a factory, factories, we have production lines, we have workstations, we have equipment, and so on. But then we need to start connecting that to the people, right? Because that's just a structure. I mean, the machine is standing there. But what we want to do then is, of course, maybe having a QR code, let's say on this machine, and I can get this information. And then if I have the QR code here and I get this information, maybe I can also have this call for help or problem solving together with my colleagues and the experts. And, potentially in the future, we are not there yet, but maybe I could then also connect it to maybe my maintenance system. So maybe the maintenance system is, let's say I have a breakdown or, a stop on the machine. and it pushed the information, and I get a troubleshoot in a video format telling me how I alleviate that problem. Those type of things we have not done yet, not all of them, but of course that is something that we are looking into. How can we make this like quite complex landscape in the end easier for the user? Because that's the key here, that we don't only, let's say, implement tools and then expect people to just use it in that sense. We are looking really, really carefully on how can we make it in a way that the end users, the operator, the maintenance, the quality, that they get what they need in a format that they need and can use. And it's not an easy journey. You know, we have been doing a lot of tools in the past as well, but it's not easy. So it's something that you need to be careful with when you're doing this. And then connecting it back a little bit to the world-class manufacturing, so lean and total productive maintenance and so on, that in our journey, you know, we have been doing this for 20 years. And I would say that we are probably somewhere here. Like, you know, we are using technology in some areas, which means that we can go up here, and sometimes we're not. And what this one is showing you that, you know, without a structured approach to continuous improvement and then using digitalization to accelerate, you will be a lot down here. And of course, I don't see everybody who is here today, but maybe you're working in a factory where you have a lot of firefighting, which means that your machines are stopping where you don't want it to stop. You have breakdowns, you have waste, you have errors, you have quality issues. And that's quite normal when you don't have a structured approach to it, right? Because you're not capturing the ideas and making them to a standard. But, you know, through standardization and training and, you know, making other improvements as well, I mean, on the journey, you will go to less firefighting, have more time for continuous improvement. Like I said, we don't do it to reduce headcount. Then you have more time to make improvement, and also more time for strategy, you know, looking more on a longer perspective than just the next shift. Yeah. And also your daily task will actually also reduce because, I mean, you will optimize. You will reduce what we normally say is non-value adding. But the tricky part here, especially for us been doing it for 20 plus years, is that it's quite heavy. You know, the more standards I create, for example, you know, yeah, I mean, I create more standards and I optimize and so on, but there will be a lot of standards in the machines, you know, for how to start up the machine, change the reels, do maintenance, all of that. That will be hundreds and hundreds. And then in the end, maybe thousands, depending on the size of the factory that you work in. And then, of course, you're working globally. Think if I would then scale it to our 55 plants, right? It's a lot of information. So the tricky part is to make that in a way that it's actually, let's say, absorbable for the end user. That is something that you can use when you're looking at it. And what we have seen is that, you know, by writing something in a standard, you know, in text, even with pictures, it's very rare that someone completely new, you know, let's say we have a new operator in the factory and we give it in their hand. Let's say, I mean, probably we can still give it in an iPad, right? And we give them the iPad and they can watch the written instruction. It's very rare that they actually understand how to do the job. Someone needs to tell what is not said in the text, what's not shown in the text, right? But now with the applications that we're using, we are providing more video possibilities. So suddenly, instead of giving them, you know, even a paper or an iPad with text on, we're giving them Microsoft Surface Go, because that is the technology that we use for the hardware, and they get it in video. So they can go to the machine. There's a QR code. You know, just imagine it by yourself. You're going to the machine. You're a new operator. There's a QR code on the machine, and I scan the code, and I get all the work instructions or standards and so on of how to start up the machine, how to clean the machine, how to do basic maintenance and so on. I get it, you know, very easily. And the question is why, I mean, maybe it feels sometimes like, you know, think when you're at home. I mean, you're sitting, let's say I want to do barbecue at home. You know, what do I do if I want to make a nice steak? I Google and I usually find a YouTube video and it explains to me how to do a perfect steak, maybe in 5 minutes, maybe even less. Yeah, I don't have to read anything. I just watch the video. They say how to do it, but they also show how to do it. Why should that be different when you work in the factory? Because in the factories, typically, you have a binder somewhere in a locked cabinet. You don't even know where it is, right? And also something else that I would like to highlight is that, you know, even the thing with this with standardization and making it easy to understand and so on, and by that removing non-value adding work, was said even, you know, this was 50 years ago by Toyota. They have a handbook and where it said that It's a quote from the early days of Toyota production system, that it's irresponsible to allow non-value adding work to continue. This is disrespectful to the employees and compromises our competitive position. And think about that also in a context of digitalization, right? When you're connecting the workers, think about that it's actually disrespectful to the employees and compromises our competitive position if we are not removing the non-value adding work. And I will give a very practical example again. When we are using lean or total productive maintenance or other continuous improvement methods in factories normally, we have these boards, right? Where you have all the KPIs or the measures and so on. We used to do that just until maybe 1-2 years ago. You did it by hand. So you were going there with a green and red pen. First, you went to the computer to check the figures because that computer was somewhere else. You went there to check the figures. And then you went to the board to draw the KPIs because you were going to have a shift handover or something like that. Today, we provide that to Power BI. So you have it in the phone, you have it in the tablet, you have it on the computer still. Even on some screens, we have put up instead, digital touch screens and so on, making it much easier. Because then the non-value adding part was, going to the computer, going back to the board, drawing with the pen. Now I get it instantly. And even some data I can even get live. Then, if we think about how to connect all employees and have this operational collaboration, because the collaboration is usually something that is not maybe considered as a core thing when you talk about connecting workers. If you think about, for example, the typical things when you talk about what is important, you talk about they need to have access to the standards and work instructions. We have talked about that. Maybe I need to have a training plan, some training material. But the collaboration is actually a big part of the learning and the improvement. So by having this across shift, production lines, and even between factories, that enables a real connected worker. And I guess that most of you that are here today to listen, you're thinking, we are office workers, most of us, I guess. Maybe some of you work in a factory, but we have tools for that. We have Microsoft Teams, we have this, we have that, we have Zoom, we have different solutions to collaborate quite effectively, even across geographies. But if I'm an operator in the factory, traditionally, I've not been given that possibility. Right? Now, of course, we are in Tetra Pak, we are getting more and more applications to support the workers to be also as connected as we as office workers. But then they, of course, cannot have a laptop because you cannot carry around a laptop. So you need some tablet or a phone or something like that, so that you can also stay connected. And I would like to give a practical view of then the collaboration, how it could look like. Let's just see if I can get my pointer to disappear. So this is from the solution Poca, which is one of our tools that we use to connect the workers. And this is something that has been done by the operators by themselves. So this is not only for this presentation. This is actually something we have just recorded from the system. And here you can actually see where they are posting maybe some information that is important for everybody. Maybe some event that was happening so everybody knows about it. Here is something about COVID-19, very important topic nowadays about the how to clean yourself and stay safe and so on with the distance. So that type of information suddenly becomes in the hand of the operator as well. They don't have to go to the computer or something like that to get it. They have it almost in the pocket. And the good thing with this is that it also enables, cross collaboration between shifts and so on, because maybe I'm working in another part of the factory, but I can see what happened in the previous part, and then maybe I can make some adjustment from my side. And of course, here you can also see some collaboration happening by comments. It looks a little bit like almost like Facebook or something like that, but it's what people used to do outside of work. So why should it be different at work? So very easy, collaboration even between people, operator to operator, but of course also the manager to the team and so on. So the opportunities here are endless by doing this, by connecting all employees, not only the factory workers like we have done previously. And then, of course, when we talk about the training content as such, let's think about the single source of documentation. I mean, especially in Tetra Pak, we have at least 29 converting factories where we make our packaging material. And for us to be able to benchmark, because benchmarking is a really important subject, right? Because why should I reinvent the wheel? Think again about what Toyota said like 50 years ago. It's irresponsible to continue to doing like that, by doing this non-value adding activity. So why should we have 29 factories developing 29 standards for the same type of machine? Yeah, because one of the reasons being it's not been easy, we didn't have the same system and so on. But now we are rolling this out. So now we're enabling that. If I'm working in Brazil, or if I'm working in Sweden, or working maybe in Denmark, something like that, I can benchmark. And when you think about benchmarking, it's also very important that you think about what format is easier to benchmark with. Because again, if I open an instruction from China and it's written in Chinese, sorry, people will not even look at it. They will not even try to translate. But if it's in a video, maybe with some small text just to emphasize some points, it's more appealing. It's easier to try to at least look at it to see, is this what I'm looking for? So again, showing the possibilities by having one single source. And this is again, just showing you how it's looking when the operators have created something by themselves. So this is in the tool. This is the instruction. It's based with some, like I said, some text just to emphasize some points. But other than that, it's purely videos. You see? Much easier to work like this, I would say. I mean, if I would be an operator coming to the factory and I get this in my hand and I compare that maybe to a long manual with 50 pages, which one is probably easier to understand and also find what I'm looking for? This is also something that we have learned now when we are starting to do, let's say, more modern instructions in video format, is that make them small, make step by step. Don't make a video of 10 minutes. Make it in smaller chunks. Because then you remember that maybe the first time I watch it, yes, I need to watch all of them, but the next time I just want to see one part, much easier to find like that. And then if we talk about how we manage the skills management, here Tetra Pak has actually been very good in the past. We have a very structured approach of how we manage skills, so what people should know and even how they should then close the eventual skill gap that they may have. But the difficult part has always been the system perspective. Where should we store all of this data? Who needs to know what? Which position? Which operator? Which maintenance? It has been difficult. We didn't have a good system for it. It has been complex. Yeah. And plus that, even if we would have found some system sometimes, it was not easy to use for the end user. We could get all the data, but for the end user, still complex. And then it falls again, right? So what we have done here through this POC application also is that we are integrating not only how I do something, so the standards, but also who should know that and who should know which instruction, and building a step-by-step training program for the users or the operators in this case. So by having that integrated as well, you're actually connecting it in a very nice way. And here, for example, is just for those of you who maybe have worked with skill matrix or something in the past. Here you can see that there's a personal skill matrix. It's one skill spread to multiple people, even multiple factories. But you can see like one training plan in the language that is also for the user. And this is a very important thing that I've not mentioned yet. Something core for us to make this work is that we need to have a system that is multi-language. Otherwise, again, think like this. We in Sweden, probably, I'm Swedish, we can probably cope with English, at least with the buttons and so on. Okay, content we would like to have in Swedish, but maybe the buttons we can cope with. But imagine if you're from, again, Brazil or China or a country where English, they don't even know it. They've never seen it before. Then it doesn't work. So it needs to be multi-language. And, this POC solution that we use is one of those solutions that we have that are multi-language. And like I've also said, this thing by, connecting all the factories, because here is just a snapshot, and in the sense we have more factories like than this, but this means that if let's say I'm working in this factory here in maybe Rubiera, and I have a problem on one of my printers, that's one of our core equipments in the factory. Instead of reinventing the wheel and maybe starting, an analyze and trying to identify the root cause, the first thing I can do is checking, okay, maybe some other one have a troubleshoot how to alleviate this problem. So maybe then he can click on the factory from Dijon and see, okay, maybe they have a solution for this already. First of all, I save time, right? If I can find it, which the probability will be higher and higher the more we work together. So let's say I can save the time, but also the quality maybe will be higher, because when I do it the first time, maybe I also do some mistakes. Maybe I don't have the real troubleshoot yet. But maybe the join here, the other factory, they have done it already 10 times. They've improved that troubleshooting standard multiple times already, so I can just do copy paste. Again, thinking about what the Toyota said, we're removing the non-value adding part. Yeah, I can get to the solution quicker. And that was actually the end of my presentation. So I think I need to stop my screen sharing.
Make me presenter, please.
Yeah, I will try. Like this. Oh.
So do you see my screen?
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that brings us into to the final questions and answer part. Are there anything, Helen?
Yes,
right
I will open up microphones for all attendees now, so you can ask your questions by phone, or you can post your questions on the chat. And we have one question here. How do you search through all the videos to find what you need?
Yeah, it's a good point. I can maybe answer that one. Everything is about tagging, because again, I can just give a reference. We have currently 10,000 plus instructions for 9 factories roughly in the system. 10,000 instructions. But tagging them on the machine, and even the part and the parts of the part of the machine, you can filter it out. So when you're in the system that we use, this Pocket solution, you can actually filter it. So for example, if I work on a printer, I can go to the printer and then filter that. But maybe I want to know the printer station, and I filter that. And then, maybe I even want to know some part of the printer station, I can filter that. So that's one way. Another important thing is also that the experience is actually personalized. We are telling the system who works on which machine and even on which part of the machine, so they even get a personalized experience. Out of these 10,000, which one do you as an operator actually have to watch when you're working on this printer? So one way is, of course, you could search for all of them, but you can also get that personal experience.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
And can I follow up on that one? It's actually me ask a question, but like a follow-up question is to that is how do you assure then that if something has been recorded by some of the operators out in a production somewhere, that knowledge is actually shared with the rest of the sites where they have the same machine, so they don't do the same thing or the same error? How do you assure that?
I mean, there are different ways. I would just explain from our side how we do it, because you can share it on something called model, for example, that you have a model of the machine. So if you have the same model on other types of machine, that's one of the tags you can choose when you tag it. You can say, well, I want to tag it on this printer called VTFlex 175. That's one of our main printers. And then everybody with that one, of course, if it gets approved, it needs to get approved first. It's following the ISO requirements. But if it gets approved, actually all of them will get it. Yeah. That's one way. And then, of course, I can choose to just share it in my factory, because maybe it's only for us. But that's something that both the one who creates it, but also the ones who approve it, can make that distinction. Is it for everybody, or is it only for us?
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Any more questions? There is nothing new on the chat.
Okay.
Please. Okay. So as mentioned in the beginning, this webinar has been recorded, and you will receive a link to the recorded webinar within 48 hours. And you can send any question to Bengt or call him. And with that, I would like to say thank you very much to Johan for attending this webinar today. And thank you, Bengt. And thank you to all of you who listened in. See you soon. Have a good day. Bye-bye.